Hey everyone, welcome to Inspired Action, the leadership forecast, where real conversations don't just sound good, they change how leaders show up. I'm your host, Kyle Pertuis, and today we've got 3 leaders stepping up, leaning in, and bringing the kind of insight you don't get from a playbook, you only get from experience. So whether you're leading a team, building a culture, or just trying to show up better than you did yesterday, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Inspired Action. I'm your host, Kyle Pertuis, and I'm here with 3 incredible guests today to answer this question. How do you handle resistance or skepticism without shutting people down? But first, let me do a quick intro with our rockstar lineup of powerhouse guests, beginning with Seth Flowers. Seth serves as sales director of Citywide Facility Solutions in Austin. He's a devoted husband, proud father, and good friend. He lives his mission daily to pursue excellence in every aspect of his faith, family, health, and leadership while helping others to embrace their God-given talents. Secondly, we have Mark Oelze, counselor, author, speaker, trainer, and founder and director of PLEDGEtalk, where he applies his expertise in relational communication, healthy conflict resolution, communication coaching, and marriage and family counseling. Really, really cool stuff happening there. And then last but not least, Katie Hollingsworth, owner and lead trainer at Western Integrity Coaching Academy, where she drives a strategic vision, curriculum innovation, and professional excellence behind the Western industry's leading mental performance and coaching certification programs. A certified coach and mental performance expert, she is helping entrepreneurs and athletes in Western sport and Western industry to excel and achieve their full potential. I'm so excited to have the 3 of you here, and what incredibly diverse backgrounds, but I think we're going to really see some of the crossover here, and I'm excited to get started. Seth, you drew the short stick, so we're going to have you start today with answering the question for us first. And that question again, how do you handle resistance or skepticism without shutting people down?
Kyle, I appreciate you bringing the question to us, and I think in the time we're in, it's such a crucial question because I think so many people want to be proven right, and when you're having conversations, I think the first place that you have to come from is just a place of humility, and that is that there's different viewpoints that everyone's allowed to have. And I think when you look at it from a societal standpoint, I think we can go into this for 45 minutes to 2 days if we wanted to. But when you think about this from a business standpoint, I think it really starts with expectations. And that is that this is a safe forum. I think there's different places for different conversations. But if you have a team that is afraid to be skeptic or afraid to object against something that you're saying, then you've really created a culture of fear. And at the end of the day, you have to create a culture that allows people to conversate with you. And in my team meetings, it's funny, I rolled out a change just the other day. And so it's kind of ironic that this question came up. And it's very simple of what do you object to? And have the conversation of, do you not agree that we have a problem that needs changing, or do you not agree with the solution? And when you have those conversations, they're not personally attacking you. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of the result being something that they can't overcome, or whatever those situations are. And you have to be willing to have those conversations in a safe environment. And then at the end of the day, also give them input. If you don't like the solution that I came up with, what solution would you bring to the table? And when you allow them to have those conversations, at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. And I have to be willing to make a sometimes difficult decision that people aren't going to like. And you very gracefully give them the opportunity to say, hey, I understand you may not have liked that solution that we came up with in that meeting. If you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me to vent a little bit, come and do it. Let's have that chat. I promise you, I'm not going to be angry with you. I'm not going to go through. And so when you have disagreements, allow it. When somebody doesn't like the choices you made, allow it to happen and have those conversations.
I think you kicked it off with humility. And I think when that is present and authentic, that diminishes some of the fear that allows a lot of what you explained further to happen. Mark, let's jump over to you. What would you add to that?
Thanks, Kyle, for the opportunity. And thank you, Seth. I really appreciate the idea of creating safety. And even all the way on the back end of what you said, that even if they disagree with me in a meeting or something, to come out and talk with me, I'm open to that. That's huge. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Seth. Two things came to my mind when I read your question, Kyle. The first one is, so I'm a marriage counselor and a communication trainer and so forth. So I meet resistance all the time. In fact, when I was in graduate school, I was told that there'd be 85% of my time would be spent on working through resistance. So I'm always having to do that. And the first thing that strikes me is if I'm talking with a couple or an individual and I'm trying to help them to see a point and they're not getting it or they're pushing back, then I have to take note of myself. What's going on inside of me? Because I can start getting irritated, frustrated. They're not getting it. I'm the expert. I know the truth there. I know what's really helpful. And if they're not getting it, if I'm not careful, I can become increasingly frustrated, angry because they're blocking my goal, right? So I have to be really aware that it's not about getting them to see my viewpoint. It's about doing my best at loving this person or this couple in front of me, helping to create the opportunity, the safety, the culture in which they most likely will be able to hear the truth or hear what I think is the truth or what I think is good direction for them. So I have to be aware of me. The second thing that strikes me is I have to be aware of there's resistance for some reason, skepticism for some reason, and my thought is there's a story behind that, and if I can do everything I can to get behind that, to understand their story, why the resistance is there or the skepticism, that's going to help move us in the direction much better. So
I love that. I mean, it kind of runs along the lines of resistance isn't rejection, it's information. And I think the concept of being able to separate from the pushback on us personally to, hey, there's a story behind this. How can I elevate to understand that? I think that's awesome. Katie, what would you add?
So as I considered your question, I thought of it as a coach. I want to be able to kind of remove myself from that attachment of what that outcome or that feeling or that resistance might be and kind of getting that relief from that. Because I find when clients are resistant to something, usually it means that they're holding on to something very important to them. So as Seth indicated, like we're making space for different views, diverse backgrounds. And so if they're holding on to it, it's not my job to go, well, you need to stop it. You need to stop feeling that way. It's my job to go, okay, what part of this doesn't feel good to you? What part of this feels like it's out of alignment for you? And so I feel like in a lot of the work that I do, resistance, because I work with a lot of athletes, specifically in the Western industry. So imagine cowboys. This is what I'm working with. There's a lot of professional cowboys, right? And so resistance is a big deal because we're like, no, I should be tough enough to do this. I should know, like that piece of it shows up all the time. And so really allowing my, like whatever it is that I feel like I need to get out of that isn't about me, remaining curious to what is important to them, what underlying beliefs are there. Because at the end of the day, breaking resistance, yes, is part of what I do, but not by force. Usually it's by, care and by asking good questions and again, kind of pulling back and going, wait, this isn't, as both Seth and Mark indicated, it's not about me. Like it's really about how do I hold that space for them to discover what it is that's making them so frustrated and angry, because it might be something I didn't even think about at all. It's nothing that's in my lens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. It's interesting. And Seth, you said this, we could probably talk about it for 2 days, but so often I think resistance is seen as the enemy, and really what's the enemy is people not speaking up, right? It's the not feeling the safety to express what they're feeling or what they're thinking. And so I think from a leadership perspective, making sure that we're leaning in, staying curious, asking questions and building that alignment, that's what creates inspired action. Thank you. When you sense resistance, what's the first question that you ask yourself before you respond, right? Because kind of going into what Katie was saying there, a lot of times, if we're presenting something and we sense that resistance, our natural instinct, depending on what it is, may be to become defensive, right? No, this is what we got to do. I don't have time for this. I got to make decisions. We got to move. So let me leave that question where it is for whoever wants to jump in. But when you sense resistance, what's the first question you ask yourself before responding?
So for me, if you don't mind, like that's
Yeah.
where I start saying, like, what is it about this that's bothering me so bad? Like, why am I feeling a little bit inflamed? I'm working through this coach training program, and I'm having to help these potential coaches, these coaches in practice, figure out where their personal bias are. And what do you do to pause and go, wait, that's not about me. Like whatever it is they've got
Mm-hmm.
going on, that's not about me. And so it's a constant check-in. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling inflamed this way? And so it's kind of that internal dialogue of, why is that important to me to feel that way? Because I will have that. I will have someone, present something that it's like, no, you're wrong. But then I've got to go, wait, hold on. None of this is about you. Pause. So having that kind of internal understanding of your own bias becomes really powerful, in my practice for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that just elevates the whole emotional intelligence component of things, doesn't it?
Well,
Well,
and
I
I
would just,
think Katie, to your point, and Mark, you said this when you were speaking earlier. Stories. There's another person with a similar last name that's extremely smart, that may not be on this episode today, that taught me that stories are very important to everything you do in your life. And when I am in that situation, I have started, since somebody named April taught me about stories, started asking myself, what story am I telling myself? What story am I telling myself that this person's attacking me? This person's coming after me. This person's trying to prove me wrong. This person's trying to beat me. This person's trying to do whatever. And when I flip that story in my head into a positive mindset, I'm able to respond in a very, very different manner. This person doesn't understand what I'm trying to say. So I need to reframe it. This person is afraid of the outcome if they go along with what we're talking about. And so when you reframe that and change the perspective and change the story that you're telling yourself, it's typically pretty easy to respond in a safe manner.
Thank you for the gratuitous plug for my wife. That's who Seth was referencing, who is a storytelling coach.
yeah.
Mark, go ahead. What do you add?
Yeah, I'm just jump in there for a moment. So I teach a 6-step process of how to have a healthy communication and work through conflict. And the first step is to pause. So jumping back, what you said, Kitty, the idea that, yeah, we're facing that resistance, right? And if we're not careful, we're going to react, right? And then we're going to begin shutting things down. The last part of the question you were asking, Kyle, how do we do this without shutting a person down, right? So I want to be careful, and I want to pause. And then the question that does go through my mind is, what is going on right now, both in me and in them? And have to stay. I have to stay. I often get quiet myself and just that kind of thing. And I'm thinking in my head those kind of things. I'm reminding myself there's a story, and so I wonder what it is and what can I do. How can I respond in such a way right now to help pull out that story so that I can understand them and even validate where they're at? Hugely important.
I like to
Yeah.
refer to something what I call, you all know what a magic eraser is, like the white, gross, we don't want to know what's in it, but it works really well. I refer to this phrase as the magic eraser of coaching, and it's, does this thought serve me? Because again,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my clients, we're working on really quick, if we're talking about, in my world, cowboys, 30-mile-an-hour decisions. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, does this serve me? I don't have time necessarily to go through, where did this come from or why am I feeling it? It's like, wait, does that serve me? No. Who do I want to show up in this moment? And so sometimes just the responsive versus reactive becomes the foundation for how do we have good decision making.
I so agree.
Yeah. No question. I like that, the story I'm telling myself. That's something probably back in 2008 and 9, some executive coaches we were working with. And that was one of the things that I vividly remember her saying is, when you're engaging in conversations, being sure to be able to check in and say, what's the story I'm telling myself? And once you can really check in with that and be clear on what the story you're telling yourself is, then use that as a tool. So, right, if I'm angry with Seth and I'm clear on the story I'm telling myself, then I'm going to say, hey, Seth, here's the story I'm telling myself. So now it's not about him, it's about me and the story, right? May not be real, but as we know, limiting beliefs include things like interpretations that I've only got so much information of, and he may have the rest. So I think that's a great, great tool for anybody to use in, for self-regulation, but also in communication to bring that to light, to just say, hey, this is a story. This is a story.
Well, and I think also as leaders, Katie, you said something that always reminds me of the definition of a coach is the safety coach mechanism that gets people to where they want to go safer. And a coach is not what stands on the sidelines. That is a form of a coach, but they're just there to help people get to where they want to go. Our job, we're all coaches, and our job is not to get people to where we want them to go unless they're on the wrong team. It's to get them to where they want to go. They want to be successful. And so let's figure out what are the barriers that are preventing them to get there and then help them overcome those barriers versus just try to get them down the same path I want them to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to do that, again, we have to be incredibly aware of ourselves and how we might get in the way at any given moment. And
most of the time we are the barriers.
we can cause a lot of the resistance ourselves in actuality. That's so true. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. All right, you guys, great stuff. I wish we could keep going. I really appreciate the insight and the experience you guys brought today. Everybody out there watching, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to join us every Thursday for new episodes on LinkedIn at noon Central Time and right here on YouTube anytime at MindFit Coaching. Thanks for joining us. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of Inspired Action, the Leadership Forecast, where real leaders step up, get honest, and move the conversation forward. A big thanks to our guest today for bringing the kind of insight you can't fake, the kind that you earn through experience, pressure, and showing up when it counts most. Be sure to join us every Thursday on LinkedIn for new episodes at noon Central and anytime on our YouTube channel at MindFit Coaching. But most importantly, keep taking inspired action. We'll see you next time.